Hey guys, so today we're going to do a review of different types of weight gainers. I know you guys are going to have a lot of questions. There's a lot of weight gainers on the market, different formulas, and there's a lot of confusion when it comes to what you actually want. So we have 6 products here that we're going to look at, kind of see what the differences are, and then you can potentially find one that's perfect for you. So when looking at weight gainers, there's generally 2 categories you're going to look at. You're going to be looking at the products that have more simple sugars, potentially actual sugars or maltodextrin. For example, the serious mass on your top left or your quick mass on the bottom right. Your other option is more complex carbohydrates. For example, the clean gainer on the bottom that's going to have blueberry powder and brown rice. And then you have starch-based products, for example, the rebuild mass on the bottom left and the sport gainer on the top right. So generally speaking, you're going to want to get a product that's higher in carb if you're trying to gain weight. You're going to get a decent amount of protein as well, and usually some fats. My personal recommendation is, as far as the fats go, you're going to want to get the cleanest fats you can get. So you're going to want to keep your saturated fat fairly low. You're going to want to get your fats from things like coconut oil, which would actually be a saturated fat, or you're going to want to get your more polyunsaturated fats, for example, omega-3, so flax oil or other nut-based oils. When you look at the clean gainer on the bottom, it's going to be your healthiest product. It's going to have avocado, it's going to have blueberry, it's going to have brown rice, and then the protein itself is actually going to be a blend. So when we're looking at the carbohydrates, the reason you want to get more of a complex carbohydrate versus a simple sugar like a maltodextrin or an actual pure sugar is that the sugar-based products are going to digest very fast. They could potentially upset stomach. Obviously they're going to cause huge spikes in your insulin. When you get more complex products that potentially have more fiber as well, that can slow down the digestion, they're going to have a slower impact on your insulin levels, which is obviously better, and they tend to digest a little bit slower and fill you up for a little bit longer. The other key thing to look for is a blend of protein. So you don't necessarily want to get pure isolates when you're looking at a weight gainer because they're going to digest very quickly. Usually you're going to get a complex blend of different proteins. So for example, isolate protein, you might get concentrate protein or casein protein or even egg protein. And the other thing to consider is the amount of protein in relation to carbs. So your products like, for example, the serious mass on the top left are going to be very, very high in carbohydrates at a moderate level of protein. And then you can have your products, for example, the rebuild mass on the bottom left, that is going to have a lot more protein in relation to carbs. So if you're looking for a very heavy weight gainer that's going to be very high in calories, very high in carbohydrates and fat, you would probably want to look for something like the serious mass. Personal preference, though, is to get something that has a little bit more complex carbohydrates and a little bit leaner as far as carbs to protein ratio. For example, the clean gainer on the bottom. So now we're just going to do a simple head-to-head between 2 very different products. On the top we have our serious mass, which is a very high carbohydrate weight gainer. You're getting 252 grams of carbs in relation to 50 grams of protein, so basically a 5-to-1. On the bottom we have our clean gainer, which is a much lower carb ratio to the protein. The difference mainly being between these 2, other than that, very complex carbohydrates on the clean gainer, very simple carbohydrates on the serious mass.